What's going on, everyone? So it looks like the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to let go of Jaylen Nowell. He's a solid player. 24 years old, still very young. He's a guy that struggled this past year shooting the three ball, right? This was a guy that shot basically 40% from three, not last year, but the previous year, and was super efficient in that regard at 39.4%. And then this year, he shot an abysmal 28.9%. But he did average a career high in 11 points per game, which doesn't sound like a lot, but this is a guy that was only getting like 10 to 15 minutes per game and was just kind of like another guy on the roster. Now, obviously, the Lakers need a center. This would have nothing to do with the Lakers acquiring a center. The other position, though, that you can make an argument for that the Lakers would have a need for is shooting guard, right? Like, you look at the Lakers roster, they're fully covered in both forward spots. If they get another center, then you have Anthony Davis, you have Jackson Hayes, and then you have whoever that other center is. And then you can also go small ball if you needed to with several other guys that can be centers. And I don't hate the idea of bringing in another young type of prospect. And he's a guy, 6'4" size, again, 24 years old, and has the potential to be a 40% three-point shooter. Now, could you bring in Demoy Hodge? Sure, right? Demoy Hodge, same age, 40% three-point shooter, be a legit quality 3-and-D style guy. He's basically a Jaylen Nowell type player right now. Here's the thing, though. Demoy Hodge, you'd kind of want to get some development in the G League. He's not going to play very much. Neither would Jaylen Nowell, right? He's not going to play very much either. He's going to, it's the 15th, it would be the 15th roster spot. You're just looking for a guy that can come in and be serviceable, right? In spots, in moments, in whatever. And you could go Demoy Hodge, but you have him on a two-way, leave him on the two-way, let him develop in the G League, right? You can still bring him up and let him play in some NBA games, some NBA minutes if you want. On top of that, you're better off bringing in a guy like Jaylen Nowell and having him on a non-guaranteed deal where if somebody significant becomes available on the buyout market or something, you can waive Nowell and acquire that player. Or if a trade becomes available or something like that, you can attach Nowell to that trade for salary purposes or whatever and do that deal. Rather than if you had a Demoy Hodge, well, now it's like, okay, well, we don't want to cut him. And on top of that, we don't want to, we wouldn't want to trade him or anything. So by having Nowell, he basically gives you a experienced version of Demoy Hodge, a guy that can do a little bit of everything, a guy that can play some defense, exact same size, very similar player, all of those things. Like, I don't hate the idea. It's a guy that has 4 years of experience, right? Played all 4 years with Minnesota. This guy has played 62 plus games every year. Or the last 2 years, guy that is not going to ask for very much, a guy that's, can kind of be on a prove-it deal. It's a guy that can shoot the ball, and it doesn't hurt to have another shooter. Now, if he's shooting 30% from three, well, that's not good, right? Then at that point, it's kind of like, But again, if you're on a non-guaranteed deal, you just waive him and, do something else. Bring him in on a training camp, offer, right? Bring him in on a camp deal. Work him out. See what he looks like. And if he's solid and can kind of get back to that shooting prowess, why not give him an opportunity? Why not give him a real shot to prove himself? Because this is a guy that, again, shot 40%. And the Lakers always need shooting. Lakers have never really been a very good three-point shooting team. And so to get a guy that can be a legit 3-and-D style shooting guard, which also is sort of a position of need. Now, again, they're not like desperate for a shooting guard, right? It's not like they have like no other options behind Austin Reeves, right? You got Austin Reeves, you got Max Christie, you got guys like Cam Reddish who could obviously play that role. You got guys like D'Angelo Russell, right? D'Angelo Russell could always shift over to the 2 if you needed to. Like, the Lakers have options at the 2. It's not something that is absolutely desperate. But when you're talking about the 15th roster spot, there's usually a couple things you're signing that guy for. You're signing that guy for because he's young and you like him, and he's a project that you want to work with, want to build and grow and develop, and maybe could be a piece for your future. He's a guy that is a vet guy that can come in and make an impact, and you can kind of use in spots or in big moments because he's been there, done that. Or he's just a guy that's there just to be a locker room vet guy, but never sees the floor, right? Think of like a Jared Dudley type guy, right? Yeah, sure, he might play minutes here and there, but it's almost none, very few and far between, if any at all. Where I think Nowell would be a guy that you're bringing in as like kind of a mixture, right? He's a guy that has experience, but is still young enough to where he has that upside, has that potential, could be a guy that you could kind of mold and shape into the type of player that you want. He's a guy that can make some plays for others. This is a guy that's averaged 2 assists, again, in limited minutes. This is a guy that is a very solid shooter, right? Even last year, as poorly as he was shooting the ball, he shot 9.6 attempts per game. He shot 44.8%, which is 45%, which is actually pretty decent for a shooting guard. That's around league average. And then he shot 3.6 attempts from 3-point range at basically 29%, like I said, which is terrible. That's atrocious, which is interesting because he shot exactly one more 3 last year than he did the previous year at 2.6, and he was 39.4. So I wonder if it's just like that extra 3 is the difference between his shooting percentage, because the year before that, he was 33.3% on 3.6. So the 2 years that he shot 3.6 threes per game, he shot 33% or worse. The 1 year in which he shot 2.6, he shot almost 40% from 3. Pretty interesting, something just worth noting. But he also shot the best he had since his rookie season, which he was only getting like 2 attempts per game. But he shot the best of his career from 2-point range. He shot 6 attempts from 2, and he shot almost 55% from the field. So that means he's good at getting to the basket. That means he's good in the mid-range. He's a guy that could just be another scorer for the Lakers and has an EFG of 50.2, right? Shoots 78% from the free throw line, which is good, not great, right? You'd like him to be a little better, but he is 80% for his career at 79.8. Guy that can rebound. He averaged 2.1 rebounds and 2.6 assists last season. So, again, you're talking about a guy that's 11, 2, and 3. Or 11, 3, and 2. Right? Averaged 0.6 steals, which is good. And then 0.01 blocks, so not great blocks-wise. And has a 0.7% in turnovers. So he's a guy that takes care of the ball, that doesn't turn the ball over much, that protects it. Again, how much do you need this guy? Not heavily, but it's not like there's a world of options out there. So with that final roster spot, you're looking for the best low risk, high reward type player you can find. Or you're looking for a vet to come in and just be a locker room guy. So you're either looking to probably try to bring in like a Rudy Gay or something like that. Or you're looking to bring in a guy like Nowell who can be that low risk, high reward type player. Where if he works, great. You basically got, a KCP style guy, right? If it doesn't work, then no big deal. You can use him in a trade. You can waive him. Do whatever. You have flexibility. You're not married to the guy. You're not stuck with the guy where it's like, man, we should have never signed this guy. What are we going to do? How do we get rid of him? like, what? How do we go? How do we approach this, right? No, you got a guy that can just come in, play his role. He has experience. He how much does he buy into it, though? Like, that's the other thing. How much does he, is he willing to come in and play that role of like, hey, when, I'll stay ready. When you need me, I'm here, coach. Let's go. Let's get it. Right? He'd also be playing with a defensive-minded coach. Again, he's a good defensive player, a legit 3-and-D style guy, so maybe Darvin Ham can make him look better. But in the same breath, he is young, and he's probably going to want to go somewhere where he can get some significant minutes and play a role. And usually, I'm in the camp, which you've heard me say countless times, of like, you come to the Lakers and you play well, you're going to get a big contract, right? Malik Monk, I've said the same argument for Christian Wood, right? If you're Christian Wood, the most sense in the world right now for you is to go to the Lakers because their lights are bright and the coverage is great. And if you play well, you're going to get a big contract, whether it's with the Lakers or another team, right? Here's the difference, though. Nowell's probably not going to get the opportunity in the playing time, right? He's going to play in spots. So the whole, go to the Lakers and you're set, I don't really think applies to him, right? I just think that he's just so far behind in the pecking order that, unless the Lakers want to let Max Christie develop for another year, right? If the Lakers are like, hey, let's move Max Christie, we'll keep him on the roster, obviously, but, we want him to play significant minutes in the G League and kind of continue to grow and develop, and then next year we'll give him a new contract, and then he kind of steps into the big rotation role. If they want to go that route, then I think he makes more sense, and I think he'd actually probably get some opportunity. But if that's not the goal and the Lakers are hoping that Christie actually earns some rotation minutes, then I think Nowell is absolutely the odd man out and should just stay as far away as possible. But anyway, just a thought of a guy that's on the market still, that is still available, that just recently, the Wolves, it was announced that they're looking like they're going to let him go. See somebody you'd be interested in? Is he somebody that you wouldn't? Have you feel whatever your thoughts are? I'd love to hear it, so let me know down in the comments below.